Today, we are going to discuss on the various levels of happiness one can experience in one's own life. Now, if you see in our day-to-day life, there is the one level of happiness which is derived, which is at the gross level, which is you can say directly indulgent into sense gratification, right? Eating gulab jamun, going and maybe having fun with your friends or whatever, where you directly have indulgence with the senses. The topmost of this pleasure, as per scripture, is the sex life. This is the highest in the grossest level. But then there is even still more subtler happiness which people derive, which is at the level of mind. Yes, there is a happiness which one can derive at the level of mind. Some of the examples: poets or philosophers, or I'll say people who wants to watch movies or a video game. Have you seen such people? When they get absorbed in a video game or when they're absorbed in the movie, they just don't want to do any other things. And if you say, "Oh, we have a great feast, come down," no, I want to complete this game. Have you seen the kids, right? Or if somebody's in middle of a exciting movie, no one will like to jump out and say, "Oh, it's dinner time, close. How about the movie? I'm going." Very rare, unless the movie is boring. But then there's a higher pleasure. People completely get absorbed into it. Higher than even mental pleasure is the pleasure at the level of intellect. Yes, the scientists, right? A guys who really enjoy technical stuff, right? Have you seen people who really love solving puzzles or a Sudoku, right? They derive tremendous pleasure, and this pleasure has nothing to do with the senses, is nothing to do with imagination, which is most of, as I said, described to mind, but it's more to do using intelligence. There have been a case, I think, so, of Edison when he was into so much of an experiments with a bulb. He realized after few months, how do I get my food? And he thought for a while and he said, "Oh my God, I've been married," right? He was so much absorbed into it that he even forgot he's married. So much pleasure is obtained at this intellectual level that all lower pleasures are no comparison to it. And ladies and gentlemen, even then, the higher the intellect pleasure is the pleasure at the level of ego. Yes, I do something, I achieve something. The enjoyment one receives on a success or getting recognized by others or having been contributed into someone else's life. Most of the philanthropy in this world is happening with the level of pleasure received at the ego. So this is completely different, right? We are not talking about such cases where people do selfless service. We are talking about majority of the cases where people say, "My name has to be there when the donations are done," or "I should be recognized," or whatever. They are looking for their glory. This is the pleasure which is derived at the level of ego, which is the highest. But there is even higher pleasure than one can derive at the level of ego. Much, much, much higher. And that is the happiness, the bliss one can derive at spiritual level. It is it is unimaginable. If you consider a drop in the ocean, that drop pleasure is the pleasure which is at the level of false ego, we call it. But the spiritual pleasure is like an ocean. And that is exactly the reason why, even after enjoying huge kingdoms, the great kings in the past used to renounce, and after a certain period of time of 50, 60 years, used to renounce and go to the jungle for doing tapasya. There were so many people who said, from, I don't want to waste my time. Let me be completely absorbed in performing sadhana or my spiritual activity. They derive a much higher pleasure. And yes, this pleasure doesn't depend on anyone else. It is there within you to access. So, are you looking for to access this pleasure? Continue looking at my other videos, which will be soon launching.